Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, Gary here for Bizarre Brain Comics. I've told you before that I was going to do some episodes talking about these various art books, cartooning and stuff. Well, this isn't exactly cartooning, but it is in the comics field, although not done specifically for the comics field. I'm going to talk about this book right here, which is Dynamic Figure Drawing by Burne Hogarth. And I've talked about Burne Hogarth a couple times before, because he drew the Tarzan comic strip Sundays for several years, late 30s through the 40s. And then he went and started a school and for illustration. And then, while he was doing that, he produced several drawing books, and I think this is the only one I've got. But this is a critical one for, of course, dynamic figure drawing. And he did stuff on some other stuff such as drapery and I don't know what else, how clothing folds and the like. And let me just take a little look at this. He focused a lot on the figure in space and in motion, and it really shows here, and you can see it that evolving in his work on the Tarzan strip. Initially, he did the panel same size panels and page layout and type of panel compositions that Hal Foster had done before him. And then he started experimenting with page layout and the figures in motion and in space. And that's what I mean. And what I mean is the figure in space is something like this. Like in this, I'll show you some more when I get to it. But and it really became prominent in his work. And he was just an excellent all-around draftsman anyway. I want to show you this because he also, I'll keep that up there, because he did return to doing some comics, specifically Tarzan, in the 70s. The first time I covered him was when I covered his Tarzan of the Apes graphic novel, and which covered about the first half of Edgar Rice Burroughs' novel of Tarzan of the Apes. And then several years later, this is from 1976, when he did this graphic novel featuring some stories from Burroughs' Jungle Tales of Tarzan. And it's just some beautiful work. I'll just give you a little look at some of this stuff. Just that cover alone is magnificent. Is there anything on the back? Oh, yes. Oh, look at that. That would make a beautiful, beautiful poster. Look at that lush foliage. Beautiful colors. Now, in this book, unlike the previous one, which had been full color, this was in black and white. And I just want to show you some of it here. Just look through some of it. You see the composition here. You can get the double page. Had the text description But here's a good example of both dynamism and the figure in space. These great, the great apes. And of course, these stories take place when Tarzan was a teenager, and his later teens, shortly before, after he met the Gomangani, the people from the village of Mbonga, and he killed Kalonga, the son of Mbonga, and just before he got his first glimpse of white people, and met Jane Porter, and it in itself is a classic. Here you can see the great action, dynamism, the gestures, the positions of the figures. It's just marvelous. And I have to tell you, it would be great. I think it would be great if the Burroughs and Hogarth estates got together and released some of these illustrations in a coloring book for kids or adults. I mean, because you can really see how beautiful it is in black and white. And then I think many people would just look. I mean, even the dynamism here of the elephant, Tantor, sheer beauty, and the lush green. Look at that tree coming up. It is just, as I already said, sheer beauty. And the way that tree comes up from one panel all the way through the whole page layout, but also directs the eye through that page layout. And the action here. Here's another great example of both the figure in motion and in space. Same goes for that. And you can see what I'm talking about here. Not there. And here's the definitive body forms, and he talks about how to construct and deconstruct the human figure into some various basic shapes, circles and cylinders primarily. And then gets here with the pictures of the shading to give dimension. Look at that. I mean, and that's just an instructive illustration, but it's beautiful. And here's another fine example of the figure in space and the three-dimensionality of it. He doesn't ignore the female figure either, showing the dimensions, how things work on the human figure. And then here you can kind of see how the joints work. And here we see breaking down the figure in motion. And that's probably one of its single most famous instructional images right there. How the head works in relation to the body. Now here we get into the construction of the musculature, how the muscles work on the body. The hands. You can comparing the hand to tree roots. Oh, that's cool. That's the one from the cover. And he breaks down, somewhere in here, he breaks down and shows the muscles. Yeah, like on here. So that you can see how the muscles lay under the skin so that you know how to produce the muscles with skin, and how things are visible through the skin. This is really great. This has been a big help to me, even back in art school, because I've had this book for decades. Because when I was and how hands and feet, I was mostly focusing on the figure, but it does show the hands, drawing the hands, and then of course the feet are inclusive, but not as the feet are not as expressive as the hands are. And you really have, if you're going to do nice, reasonable human figure, you need to do the hands and feet also. When I was in art school, I had a classmate, and we would do, when we were doing life drawing, I commented to him how he here we go, hands, that he would draw the figure of our model, but he'd always leave the hands and feet off. And he said, I don't do hands very well. And I told him, well, then that's what you should focus on. Draw more hands. Don't avoid drawing hands. I mean, you've got two hands right at the end of your arms. You only need one of them to draw with, and use the other one to see how to draw the hand. And because when I was young, I had great difficulty with hands. Like when I was in 12, 13, 14. And so I focused quite a bit on the hands because I just couldn't get them to look like hands. There wasn't enough room to put 5 fingers on it. And so I focused on the hands. I would draw my hand over and over and over in various positions and look at how in the comics other artists drew hands, and I would copy their hands and feet. Rob Liefeld, pay attention to feet, and it worked very well. I had similar difficulty drawing female figures. They always just looked like boys with boobs, and so I focused on drawing female figures until I could do them. And so it came that in my art school class, I was, from what I could see, the only person who could draw a reasonable figure without a model or photo reference. Because for doing their illustrations and the like, everybody was always drawing directly from a photograph. And of course, you should use photo reference, especially when you need it, for specific things. And there are books specifically on photo reference of the figure in a variety of positions and in space. But you also need to be able to draw a figure freehand without reference and make it look reasonably real. And I was the only one in my class who could do that. And I think this book, as well as some others, were instrumental in learning how to do that. And I'm sure the same could be said for a whole lot of working professionals over the decades. Many of the professionals went to Burne Hogarth School, both painters, illustrators, and comic artists. And that is a very lovely and one of my favorite art books. And of course, this is one of my favorite Tarzan books. And actually, I had forgotten I had this until just recently, when I was going through some stuff, and there it was. Well, I had forgotten all about that. And I looked through it, and I was just, for the first time in who knows how many years, and I probably said, "Oh, how beautiful this is! This is just wonderful work." So that's all I've got. Thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe. Share it with friends who are interested in art and artists being an artist. Share it with comic book friends, what have you. So like, share, subscribe, and please leave a comment. And remember, comics are art and dynamic.